Hello and welcome to another edition of No Nonsense with Pamela Wallin. Today is a very special program for me. This all began, this relationship, because of the work that my sister did for many, many years with the mentally and physically challenged. And we ran across a woman by the name of Diane Dupuy. She was in charge. She was the president and CEO of a group, or the founder of a group called Famous People Players. I'm sure you've heard of them. This was a black light puppeteering troupe, and everybody involved in the whole production was intellectually disabled or challenged in some way. And Diane just created this incredible phenomenon. And it still is operating. In fact, they have just marked their 50th anniversary. So Diane Dupuy is with us. We're going to have a conversation about her new book, about the work, about what keeps her motivated, about what the meaning of life is. Diane, it is just so great to see you.
Well, thank you. And Pam, I remember those fond stories that you told me, and I've always admired your sister. So I'm very excited to catch up with you. And you look absolutely fabulous, I will tell you.
Well, and so do you. So Famous People Players, take us back 50 years. You know what? Just wait. I just want to say that you have written so many books, and this is the latest one. Okay, this is the latest one. And it's entitled, It Happened When the Angels Took a Coffee Break. The consequences for earthlings are high. So I went this morning on Google and I typed in When Angels Took a Coffee Break. A song by a young man named Will Massey came up, When Angels Take a Coffee Break. He was singing about this idea. What inspired you? Where did you get that title from?
Oh, that's from COVID. I mean, we were locked down, our theater company, and we were doing so well. You know how I always pride myself on leading the company without government operating grants.
Right.
And all my life, that's how it was. And then all of a sudden, COVID came in and everything, hit the fan in a
Yeah.
for us. And I noticed the things that were happening in the world, and the way the world is today is our fault. I mean, we have, and I do believe, we have guardian angels who guide us, who are assigned to us. And the book is a fantasy, and it's a story of angels who are trained and taught how to be a guardian angel up in the universe, and they're assigned to somebody. And they all come to Earth, a group, and it's a story of two billionaires, a messed up teenager, their wives and everything. And it's their journey. So when you read the book and you're on Earth, it's reality. But when they leave, it's all fantasy. And the angels come and they're sick and tired of guiding us because we don't learn our lesson. We repeat history, and we are constantly just continually not getting it. And we have destroyed the planet. And this is why there's wars and everything. So they quit their job, they go back home, they hang up their wings, and they just refuse to do anything. And Mother Superior, of course, who teaches the angels, makes them angel food cake spiked with liqueur and coffee. And they get drunk and they pass out. And that is when the Queen of Poison enters and takes over the planet.
Okay, don't tell any more of the story because people might want to read it. But the reason I'm so intrigued is because you, in your own words, and this is so connected to what you've done your whole life with Famous People Players, is that you were a problem child with a learning disability. And your own mother said, you're exhausting your angel. Like you, like I love that line because I can understand you're the Energizer Bunny. You run around like full tilt 24/7, right?
Yes. And it was difficult for me because the story that I tell the school kids when they come is that this little girl who entered school in grade 1 was so excited to make new friends, very excited that she ran around the classroom and the teacher couldn't get her to sit still. And when recess came, she ran around thinking everybody would run with her, but nobody ran with her. because they didn't like her. There was something odd about her, different. She goes back in the classroom and is told to sit still at the desk,
Yes,
which
of
was
course.
hard for her because she couldn't concentrate. And yet she looked out the windows and there it was. Her imagination came to life beyond those windows. She's riding a white horse. She's going to save the world. And that's all that mattered. So if nobody wanted to play with her, it didn't matter. She had her horse and she'd get out in the recess yard and she would ride it until one day a kid called her a very bad name. And that name, I'll tell you, was retard. And that was
Wow.
so shameful. And she went back into the classroom and that's where she sat year after year after year, failed grade 3, failed grade 6. Everybody wondered, what's wrong with this kid? Well, that kid was me. And if I was in school today, I would have been diagnosed with ADHD. But
Right.
for me, ADHD means awesome dreams with high drama. And that's exactly what Famous People Players is. It's a place where young people today who uh, are square pegs desperately trying to fit into a round hole. But really, it's the round hole who can't fit in with the square pegs.
Yeah.
And they come here, and in a world of creativity, it is where special happens. The stage elopes into this beautiful, magical black light with life-size characters and props that come to life. And the reason everybody is dressed all in black from head to toe was when I founded the company in 1974, they were not allowed to be integrated into society. They
Yeah.
were hidden in institutions like Aurelia, sheltered workshops, locked down. And I said to the doctor up at the Aurelia Institution, why is it like this? I was so young at the time. I want you to know, Pam, I got the Order of Canada because I was 2 at the time. But, the thing is that
Exactly.
no doors on the washroom, no forks and knives to eat with. It was tragic.
Yeah.
And I came up with the idea of the black light and trying to work with them. And I got assigned these kids. And I didn't have a choice of which kid I was going to get, which person was going to come into the company. And I have to tell you, I learned more about me than I could teach them. And they
Yeah.
became my teachers. And they found me, I couldn't fail at this. That's all I knew because I failed all my life. And I wanted this to work desperately, but I could see something in them that was in me. And it became very passionate for me. And working and teaching was like putting needles in your eyes. There was Renato, who was born with a large head, lived
Hmm.
in a room for many years, 18 years, with a towel over his mirror because he couldn't look at himself
Yeah.
and I think you remember him, Pam, because you
Yeah,
you
I
knew
do.
Renato, with a very deep colored red, purple face with big potholes, and his mother was afraid that he would be taken by a circus, and how he got on and he took a cab, covered himself with scarves so nobody would look at him. And they made that into the movie Special People on the CBS network. It was carried
Yeah.
by CTV in Canada. And, you know, to see him stand on the stage on Broadway, for example, when we won
Yeah.
rave reviews on Broadway, and taking a bow, it shows you that Viktor Frankl's quote, life has meaning no matter what the circumstances. The answer awaits us in the future.
Yeah.
And I think that was my proudest moment. Or when
Yeah.
he walked the Great Wall of China and all the people were looking at him and it didn't bother him at all. So it
Because
was
he'd found
wonderful
his own
stories
confidence, his own core.
of many, many people in the
Yeah.
company over the years and the people that we have helped. And I'm still at it because it's a passion for me. And I tell young, we do a lot of school programs.
Yeah.
And one of the things I talk about in school programs, which is important for everybody listening, is that the most important part of your brain is your frontal lobe. It is tender. If you get hit with a hockey puck there, you can have seizures. Look at it as the looking glass towards the future of your life and where you're going, your destiny, your
Yeah.
trajectory. Don't crack it.
Yeah.
Because if you do, and that comes from video games, That comes from all that stuff. They're on their phones. The Wi-Fi's move faster than their brain can't keep up. And your brain is not fully grown and developed till you're
Yeah,
25.
I think that's the issue, right? And you're right. I mean, you've got to protect it not just from the hockey pucks or the farm accident or whatever it may be, but that inundation of the technology, which is hard for a young, not yet formed brain to really manage. Yeah. So you're still doing this. Are you getting younger people involved? Is there a new generation
Oh,
of,
we have many generations.
yeah,
COVID destroyed a lot of that. And we're working on our interns. We have a lovely young woman that joined us for 1 year only from Singapore. She's an intern in the company,
yeah,
and learning, she's getting us through the social media aspect of it. We have a lot of our intern co-op students that come here from high schools who are brilliant at what they do, but for some reason don't fit in. And they're trying to find what can they do with their life, because right now the world is not giving hope to
right.
these people. So they spend 6 months with us full time. And then we have our young people that come from like community living and places like that that come. And we have staff. We're short of staff right now, trying to keep up with the things that happen in the world come to affect us. We are
Yeah,
a business. We
right.
can say we're a nonprofit charity, but you know what? This is a business. And
You
it
do like
seems like
just so people understand. I mean, you do
you
a
got to keep
dinner
the things
theater
going. You
and
got to
people
balance the
come and you have
budget. You've got
staff that
everything.
serve and
We're
but it
working. We're
yeah,
working. And my daughter has taken over all the creative end of it, training the performers. And we're very, very proud of Joanne. She's done a tremendous job. And so, what my job is to, I'm getting my succession, which I call Succession to Success program, laid out. And it seems like every month we have to change it because things happen that is different in the world and how
yeah,
to do it. But I will stay until I drop.
yeah.
But someone
Of
is
course you will.
taking over, the executive director of the company that will relieve me of tons of stuff. I don't have to teach the performers and put shows together anymore. That's all taken care of. I mean, if anything happened to me, like when I got breast cancer, it
Yeah.
ran. It ran. And everybody has developed their skills in such a way that when I see it, and I sometimes say, maybe we should have closed the company during COVID. But then I see what's happened and I go, oh, this is so inspiring. It's so
Just
inspiring.
talk a little bit about what did happen because we all have our experiences with COVID about what it meant not to go to work, what it meant not to have social contact in the way that we are used to. And I know from my own experience with what my sister did and how she turned, what used to be sheltered workshops into businesses. She created group homes where people lived as families, and they could stay together during that. But it had a huge impact on individuals, on young kids. I can't imagine what it must have been like with
Well,
you and your
the word
clients, your group.
awakening that I personally had being locked down was I was driving my car going along Dundas Street, Toronto, and who do I see but one of my players walking aimlessly? Just, I stopped the car, rolled down the window, and I said, Mark. And he looks at me. He didn't know who I was. I said, Mark, it's Diane. Diane who? Famous people players? Oh, yeah. Hi, Diane. I says, what are you doing out here? And he said, I have no place to go. I'm walking around. I said, you got to be really careful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he crossed the street. I said to Joanne, I said, Joanne, we're in trouble. I don't think we can bring these kids back. I don't think we can bring them back. The parents were saying the same thing. They were worried. And they never realized, this is something else too, which was really very nice, was the fact that they never realized how much famous people players had, done and how they miss it
Well,
now.
and you have to have that daily repetitive aspect to it to keep them connected, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the
Over and
thing.
over and over and
Yeah, and
over and over
routine.
again. There's no question about it. And then some of the players got sick and some passed away. I miss, well, Renato was one.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the company at the time. He was in a home being looked after. And I did the eulogy at his wedding. I did the eulogy of Kevin in the wedding. I did Charlene. There's so many. I mean, I can't tell you. I just really can't tell you how devastating that all was. Our chef died, a lot of people. And it was how do we start this all over again?
Yeah.
So it's
I know you're emotional. I
yeah,
understand.
it was a hard time. It still is a hard time. We
Yeah.
are, now we got, you see, the postal strike. So where are my
Yeah.
donations? Do you know what I'm saying?
No,
I
no,
need
and
donations.
small businesses everywhere
You know
going
what?
through this.
I have a monthly giving program. I need help with that. $20 a month really supports our company. We are so grateful. And it's a different world. It's a different world, and I'm trying to learn the technology. I'm just grateful I have someone now doing social media,
Right, right. So you can
that
reach
kind
out
of
other
thing.
ways.
Joanne's out doing what she's doing and cooking the meal at the same time. But you know
Yeah.
what? This is their home. This is their home. And the program now is called the Stars of Tomorrow, because really, don't underestimate these people. Don't
Yeah.
underestimate that they can't when they will. I mean, it's amazing, and to see it develop. My previous staff most of them have gone out and become high school teachers, and they call me and they say to me, I say every day, what would Diane do with this problem? Oh, we can't do anything, but Diane would put you in your place. And I think the government too, don't realize that when they put things through legislation, how it affects all kinds of things. You think you can do it with just one thing and that takes care of everything. It can't.
Yeah.
There's the Disability Act, there's this act, there's that act. How do you work with people when your hands are tied? We're used to hugging people. We're
Yeah.
used to saying we love you. You can't do that anymore, but we do it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, everybody, we do it
Yeah.
because this is who we are. And we're a family here. Doesn't matter if somebody comes in that's brand new into the company and they're starting their first day, they're becoming a member of the family. And their parents have to join the company too. You just can't say, here's my child, thank you very much, goodbye. No, you have to join it too. When you see how we set the dining room table, which we do every single day,
Yeah.
I want you to know they have to set the table at home every night exactly the way we do ours. And
Yeah.
this is how we teach them to pour water. There's an art to pouring water, and there's an art to walking around the room with your hands interlocked behind your back. Put your posture up, smile, look forward. There's all those things that go on, and making sure everybody's presentable with their hair.
Yeah.
There's so many rules. You have inspectors coming in for the bar, liquor license bar. You have one coming in for the health and safety. You have everything coming at you. The outside world never used to be in famous people players.
Yeah.
Never. Now it's here, and it's like grabbing you like that.
Yeah, and you say those rules like what we're seeing in schools where you're not allowed to discipline or hug or love or because of our kind of political correctness. I'm not sure why everybody thinks that will work with particularly with this group of people, but it's true. I mean, my mom was a high school teacher. Kids need both a hug and the discipline. That's how they learn their borders and their barriers, right? And they also need how to learn how to stretch and meet them and challenge them. But
Yeah.
there's got to be something there for them to react to.
Yeah, and I think the thing is too, with all the wokes that are out there, like for example, why does she say the word when I go into the history of the company, it's important that people understand. History is very important. It got us to where we are today. You know, you climb your mountain of pains and aches, and you get to the top, and you look back and you see, oh my God, this was a time when we were called mentally retarded.
Yeah.
This is where we were locked down. This company were the pioneers that brought integration to the forefront of the world for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
It came with the attention, and let's face it, Liberace took a huge risk
Yeah.
initially
Tell
with
everybody that
Florida
story because the
to
Liberace story is great.
yeah, to sign us on the spot to open for him in Las Vegas. I'll never forget the Hilton Hotel flying up to Toronto to stop me from coming. I mean, there was all that. And I said to the guy when he came, I said, just see famous people players perform. I will back you 100%. If you don't like them, you don't think it would fit. I don't want to put my company in a situation that would not work. And I
Yeah.
respect you. He says, you would do that? I go, yes. So he watched the first 5 minutes of the show and said, okay, you're coming to Vegas.
Yeah.
But I expect the rules to be followed here.
Yeah.
And then you get to the airport to to pass to go to the States, and the American immigration authorities wouldn't let us in because of who we were.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't social media because I picked up the payphone and I called the president of the United States. I was crying on the phone. I can't miss this flight. You got to help me. Now, that was a time when a switchboard operator listened to
Yes.
you, spoke to you, and she hooked us up with Ted Kennedy, the Kennedy thing. And the thing is, and with the volunteer that I had in Toronto who did some work with them, Helen Honigman, she was on it. Everybody. We finally got the last flight out and we got there. I often wonder what would have happened if we missed that last flight.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking today. So
Yeah.
this is the kind of things. And you know, when I say we beg, borrow, and steal, yes, we do. I remember a time we went to Seattle to do a show there 1 week solid. And when I went to collect the check, I was told they had just gone bankrupt. And I needed that money. I needed everything. It was absolutely incredible. And finally, I said, I'll take the seats in the theater and load them up on the truck. I need this many seats. I called Joe Clark, Maureen McTeer. I got to tell you, I love Maureen McTeer, and I think she was one of the greatest first ladies of our country. She got involved. Joe got involved. And then the next thing you know, I think it was Marcel Mass got involved,
Yeah.
and we cleared them through the border. And guess what? They're at our Dine and Dream Theater today, so you can all come and sit in one of those chairs. When I moved to this building, this new building 16 years ago, because our Dine and Dream Theater was closed in downtown Toronto to
Yeah.
condo developments. You
Right.
know,
Of
I'm
course.
telling you, we get hit with everything. And so here we are, we come here. My mother picked me up at Sunnybrook. I had just had my first shot of chemo, and she says, you don't have to worry. We got a home. We've got a home. You got to be happy. And she brought me here, and it was such a dump. I said, it's not the chemo that's going to kill me. It's this. How are we going to do it? But it was through my mother that with the designer, they worked it all out and did it. And I'm so proud of this home.
Well, and Diane's mother, I know at the beginning of this, she was hand doing every costume that
I
every,
know. And she
player
passed
wore.
away shy of 104, just when COVID started. She was
Yeah.
one there that got it in her lungs. That was it. And she worked here up to 102, if you can imagine. So you see, it's
Unbelievable.
not your age. You got to keep yourself so active all the time as you
Yeah.
do. That's why you look so darn young, I must tell you. And you're moving and grooving. And
Yeah.
this is it. I'm very proud of you, Pamela. You're a
Well,
great Canadian.
I'm actually proud of you because you keep doing this. And this is 50 years of hard slogging to not only keep the business alive, but to keep the mindset's changing. I know when my sister worked in this field, it was one thing to work with her clients and we always called them the kids, but they weren't kids. I mean,
I
it's just
know
it was kind of
we
mental
started
age,
off as
but
kids.
yeah, but it was also the community that had to learn to accept. And if they're going to come to the store and they can't make change, could you please help them and not rip them off? So it's constantly educating, not just those with you and part of the company, but everybody that interacts with them, the public that comes, the truck driver that drops off the food. Like this is 24/7, 360, whatever you want to call it. And it's so important that we keep having the conversation because society is still struggling with what we do with these kinds of people, quote unquote. The number of people with mental illnesses on the street now is unbelievable. It's staggering. And we have to keep wrestling with this.
It's a sad situation, and one thing that the government is not getting, all levels of government, is that as the world changes, robots take places in jobs. Now, there'll be you're going to walk in, Walmart's is going to have the greeters there, and it's not going to be people.
Yeah.
It's not going to be people putting things on the shelves.
Yeah.
It's not going to be someone doing the cleaning. It is robots. And you got one McDonald's. It's all gone pretty well robot here in Toronto downtown. Apparently, they say you got to see it. It's wonderful. I don't know. I haven't heard much about it. But I'm just saying. So what happens to our kids? Because
Yeah.
my people can't stay here forever.
No,
The whole program is about getting up, getting their confidence, and getting out there with their parents that take responsibility to get them a job in the community.
yeah.
Because we don't have to deal with the same people all the time. We have to keep refreshing and growing and bringing people
And
in.
letting them take their skills out into the real world, right? That's the
Yeah.
point. What do you make of where we're at now in this question of the homelessness and the people with mental challenges? Like, do we need to recreate some kinds of institutions so people will get their medication, will have a place to go? Do we need more group homes? Like, what's the answer? Because not
Well, there's
every
not
family
enough,
can
there's
deal.
not enough group homes. Don't forget, we have expanded with a lot of people coming into the country. We have to look at
Yeah,
that too,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden they seem, people get priority over other people. We need to have. I wish I was much younger. I wish I could be the visionary for how it should happen, because one of the things about group homes and now let's talk about sheltered workshops.
yeah,
We raised a lot of money through our performances for sheltered workshops. And you got to travel and you got to see these young people living there. They're being taken care of, they're being fed, but they're very low functioning. That's who got into sheltered workshops.
yeah,
Those are the people that are very hard to integrate into society today. But when we did a benefit performance and raised the money, and this was right across Canada, we used to say it has to be to decorate the place. Colors and beauty and
yeah,
good furniture and everything else. So people have a beautiful place, awnings outside, flowers, gardens, everything. This is what's important.
yeah,
And it's how you present the situation. But it became like it was depression. It became not being taken care of in good surroundings. And of course, you have to understand the people that work with them are so dedicated.
yeah.
I couldn't
Unbelievable.
imagine being locked down in a group home during COVID with 6 people who are climbing the walls.
Yeah,
And those people dedicate themselves to it. And people got to understand they're angels. They're called earth angels.
yeah,
And
for sure.
we mustn't forget that what they themselves go through every day of their life. I see them when they bring them here for a lunch show, for example, and give them a treat. It's so special to see that come out. I, you know, there's work to be done. but it doesn't mean you have to shut them all down. And you
Yeah.
got to remember those people are sitting with them while they're stuffing something in an envelope, and they call it a job.
Right.
But really, you got two people. You got the supervisor doing it. And when they brought in, they all had to be paid for that. They were already getting a lot. I'm not discriminating on that. I'm making the fact you're not giving enough credit to the people who are actually working with these people.
Yeah.
They are so wonderful. Now nobody can get into a group home. They're full. There's a
Yeah.
long waiting list. Where are they going? What's going to happen? The parents are aging, they're worried. I've had abandonments,
Yeah. I
where
think
somebody died,
everybody's
didn't want
facing
their
that
kid,
across the
and just
country. Yeah.
left us, and we can't find anything. And back in those days, who was really, really good at helping was John Aird. Remember John Aird, Lieutenant Governor of
Yeah.
Ontario? He was wonderful. He got a lot of my young people placed into group homes. There's the Mary Center, which is absolutely
Yeah.
fabulous how they
But
take
it's
care.
an issue
It's a
everywhere. Yeah.
gorgeous, gorgeous place with apartments that are so beautiful. But these people need money too. Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. You've had a lot of people sort of step up, the Tom Cruises of the world and the Paul Newmans and all of these people. Are you getting a new generation of stars or philanthropists that will help, or is that part of the issue, which is there's
Well, we
many
have
other causes?
an endorsement from certainly Dan Aykroyd, Eugene Levy.
Yeah.
They're wonderful, wonderful people. They're also very busy with their careers too.
Yeah.
So we have to keep changing. And it's hard to, it's not like before you could pick up the phone and call the Screen Actors Guild in Los Angeles. You get somebody that's human on the
Yeah.
phone and say,
Yeah.
"Can you
No,
tell
it's
me
all
who
so
Tom
different.
Cruise's personal manager is?" Yes, and they give you the name, the address, and the phone number, and that was it. Then you could send off a really nice letter. I know I'm going back in the old days, but
Yeah.
that personal touch of things always got a response.
Yeah.
I
And now
had more
that's,
more celebrities all the time, and they would come to Toronto and they would see us. And I can't remember who it was that came. Gee, I feel terrible now. I'm having my senior moment here, really my age. But oh, I had one night a parent brought Kim Coates.
yeah,
Now,
a Canadian
I
actor. Yeah.
never watched the Sons of Anarchy in my life. And I noticed I had a room full of seniors, dinner show at night. And I noticed they were all staring at this guy, and I couldn't figure out what that. And then coming up and whispering him, I didn't know who he was, so I had to go over and say, "You seem to be very popular." Oh, well, they've seen. He was very humble
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, do you know the show?" And I go, "No, I don't. I didn't know the show." Well, I went home that night and I watched it, and I said, "I can't believe my seniors are actually watching this." But he was nice too.
Yeah, so it's working. Diane, I just, you're just extraordinary that you keep at this. It's amazing. I'm going to just list some of the books, some of your books, because if people want to dive into this and sort of know the history, Dare to Dream, the story of the famous people players that you wrote back in 1988, Throw Your Heart Over the Fence, 1996, which is what you've done. The little girl who did what? Exclamation mark. The
Well,
teacher
she
and the
farted
soul.
butterflies. Go ahead.
Cocktails at the Chemo Lounge, which is also, people will get it if they read it. And then this new one, When the Angels Took a Coffee Break.
That's my favorite one that I wrote.
Yeah,
And you know what? You
it
can
is a
always call
fantasy, but
famous
the
people players.
messages are all there.
All right, a autograph, call famous people players. Love to talk to people. We'll send you the book.
Yeah, for sure. And if you feel it in your heart to help out, please do, because honestly, it's a miracle every night what you do, Diane. It's a miracle.
Okay, and Pamela, I'm going to sign off by saying your eyes still dance.
Ah, and
Okay,
well, thank you, but you are an amazing woman because you're I don't know, it's just in your face because you wear your heart
okay.
on your sleeve and everywhere else. It's a
Okay.
beautiful thing to see you still doing this. I'm glad your daughter's taken over and taken a bit of the work there, but just keep at it for as long as you can because the world needs you.
Okay. Thank you, Senator.
That's great. Diane Dupuy with the Famous People Players. And that's it for this edition of No Nonsense. We'll see you again.